Chantel Alexander Beatty.
Conference record has joined the conference.
Okay, did you guys hear me? I apologize. I keep getting interrupted by the recording here. Who do we have on the call?
Chantel Beatty.
Welcome, Chantel.
Thank you. And Cheryl McMahon.
Thank you for joining, Dr. McMahon. Is Dr. Mather there?
Pardon me, what did you say?
I was wondering if Dr. Mather was there. He joined. Okay, well, welcome everyone. My name is Dr. Beverly Muhammad, and I'm chairing the call today. This presentation is being recorded. I want to thank you, Dr. McMahon and Chantel, for joining the call today. Chantel, I just want to congratulate you on having achieved this milestone, and I want to thank you again for joining us today to share with us your research proposal details. Before we get started, I kind of want to just go over the process with you, Chantel. What we'll do is we're going to listen to your presentation in its entirety, and then we'll follow up with questions. And then once both Dr. McMahon and I believe that you've answered all of our questions, I'll thank you and ask you to leave the meeting, and then we'll discuss your presentation. Shortly afterwards, I'll inform you on an informal basis of the outcome, and then later you'll receive an official MyDR notification. You have any questions, Chantel?
No, thank you. Not at this time.
And Dr. McMahon, do you have any comments you want to say to Chantel before we begin?
No, I think you covered it all. I look forward to hearing your presentation.
Oh, okay. And you do have her presentation, right?
I do. It's in front of me.
Oh, okay. So Chantel is going to present her research proposal titled Business Leaders Marketing to the Bottom of the Pyramid Consumers in Nigeria. Chantel, you have the floor.
Okay, awesome, great. Thank you. I want to say thank you and greetings to everyone on the call. And I want to introduce myself. My name is Chantel Beatty. You may have seen on my other studies or within other scripts in the university the name Alexander Beatty, but I've updated to Chantel Beatty. And this is my DBA, doctoral study, First Oral Defense, Business Leaders Marketing to Bottom of the Pyramid Consumers in Nigeria. I am very, very excited. I hope I can keep you interested as well as informed as I move along the slides. And what I'm going to do is, so that we can stay engaged and on track, what I'm going to do is I go through the slides, I'm going to call out the number and the title. That way we can kind of stay together and as I move along, and or if I get kind of overly excited or anyone gets lost or may get a little bit bored. So now I'm going to progress over to the next slide, which is slide 2, Doctoral Study Committee. I want to give humble and formal thanks to my department chair, Dr. Beverly Muhammad. I want to give thanks to my committee member, Dr. Cheryl McMahon, who has also been one of my professors. And I want to give thanks to our university research reviewer, Dr. O'Neill Mather, and give thanks to our program director, Dr. Frida Turner. I also kind of want to extend an overall thanks to all of those who are involved with Walden University, because if it wasn't for Walden University and their doctoral DBA program, this would not have been made possible for me. So I want to extend my humble gratification and thanks. Slide 3, background. I like to begin by giving background information, giving background of the proposed study. And I want to give the background in terms of the globalization of business. And what we're seeing now coming from especially a developed nation perspective, is we're seeing that other countries are developing in economics and in population. They're growing in economics, and the population is growing as well. And we tend to refer to these economies or these countries as developing countries or emerging economies. Now, I want to kind of give just a little brief differences in the terms that I may use. I may use developing countries. I may use the term emerging economies. BOP researchers use these terms synonymously. The World Bank kind of adds in maybe a little difference in far as the political structures of the company and statistics. But going forward, when you hear me talk about developing countries, I'm not just particularly saying that one is better than the other. I'm basically referencing the fact that these are growing nations, emerging economies. I usually use that term when I am referring to the rising emerging economies, which are the BRIC and the BRIC nations. Also, I just want to add in there, using the term BOP, bottom of the pyramid, or base of the pyramid, I may kind of go back and forth synonymously or altering using the term base of the pyramid or bottom of the pyramid. I just wanted to add that in there. So now that we're seeing that a population growth within the emerging economies, the developing countries have come about, and basically looking at it from a developed nation perspective. Now, when I say developed nation, I'm usually talking about nations like the United States, where we are today, Canada, and the Western nations. So we're seeing a rise in the emerging economies, what we call the BRIC and the BRICS nation. The BRIC is an acronym, BRIC, for Brazil, Russia, India, and China. BRICS is BRICS, with Brazil, encompassing Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Now, these are collective terms that were coined by the former chairman of Goldman Sachs, Jim O'Neill. He coined these terms, beginning with Brazil, Russia, India, and China. In about 2001, that term came about. Now, what in terms of growth, like I said, growth and population, we see an added country coming onto the acronym, which is South Africa, and that's how we achieve coming at the BRICS, or the BRICS nations. And that term came about in around about 2010. Now, you may kind of ask, well, okay, well, what does that have to do with Nigeria? Okay, how are you putting this together with Nigeria? Well, in around about 2013, March of 2013, in the city of Durban. Durban is a city in South Africa. There was a BRIC summit that was held. The BRIC nations usually hold summits. So a fifth BRIC summit was held in South Africa around about March of 2013. And during this summit, we see that South Africa, on the continent of Africa, now gets recognized as the gateway to Africa. They get to be the big champions as the gateway to Africa, and the gateway in terms of business. Coming into Africa, you're going to come by way of South Africa, because South Africa is growing, emerging, developing, and this is a great place to start. Now, what happens, though, we're on the continent of Africa. We hear a lot about South Africa in the literature and even in the media. But what's happening is, as these nations are growing, developing in population, in their economies, we see Nigeria, Africa, South Africa can kind of look at the back of its shoulder and say, hey, Nigeria is coming up on the rise. And they're bolstering in as a continental contender on the continent of South Africa. Nigeria is now growing in population and growing in economics. So that's how we move from the BRIC to the BRICS and to Nigeria. Slide 4, problem statement. You guys have all helped me with my problem statement in developing it, and I know that you're very familiar with it, and I appreciate it, and I'm very grateful for all the help that I've gotten. So I'm not just going to read verbatim through this statement. I want to kind of highlight some points that kind of get me excited and get me going about this proposed study that I can now, verbally share with you. And one of the points that I really want to focus on is the fact that we're talking about the World Economic Pyramid. The World Economic Pyramid in terms of population and economics and the placement of the world population on let's say a triangle, let's say the face of the pyramid on a triangle, placing them in tiers on the World Economic Pyramid. And so what happens is, through this placement of our world population in terms of economics, we see that, of course, we have the top of the pyramid, the economies or the population of people in the developed nations, again, U.S., Canada, Western European nations. Then we have the middle, which is now in research becoming more viable. And then the big focus that I have here is basically looking at the bottom and the base of the World Economic Pyramid. And this is what we as business leaders call the BOP. And you might hear me use the term I or we when I talk about business leaders or BOP researchers, because I kind of get excited and include myself as one of a leader and a researcher in this facet. So now we're looking at 4 to 5 billion people, a population of 4 to 5 billion people at the base or the bottom, the widest part of this pyramid. And in terms of business, it's technically untapped for services, for goods and services. And the thing about it, this is a $5 trillion market. $5 trillion market, basically almost untapped for business, for business goods, for business services, for business products. So now what we're seeing is Nigeria. Remember, Nigeria is championing along with South Africa and the BRIC nations, championing bolstering competition on the continent of Africa. Now we see Nigeria. Nigeria is growing in population. It's about 19% of the continent of Africa's total population, even more so when we break it down to the sub-Saharan part of Africa. And through my calculations and studies with the information from the World Bank, we're now looking at about approximately 94 million potential consumers that can come from just Nigeria alone. And no, not all of the consumers of Nigeria are BOP consumers, but a great portion of is. And they're just, like I said, they're untapped. So now we have a problem. We have a problem because we say that they're untapped. So the general business problem is that business leaders who ignore selling to emerging economies are missing potential profits from BOP consumers. That's just a general business problem. But even more specific, the specific business problem is that some business leaders, or some, not all, that some business leaders fail to market to BOP consumers in Nigeria in order to maintain a profit. Now, you may say, well, Shubin, what do you mean by maintain a profit? Why don't you just say in order to get a profit or gain a profit or have a profit? Well, as I move along further, hopefully I can kind of give you that information of what I'm saying. When I say maintain, I'm looking at longevity over a long period of time. And as I move forward and start calculating in the actual people and population, hopefully I can garner a view of why the word maintain is very important. Slide 5, purpose statement. We're very well versed with my purpose statement, and I appreciate all the assistance with this. The purpose of my proposed qualitative multiple case study is to explore how some business leaders market to BOP consumers in Nigeria and maintain a profit. The biggest focus is on how. how they do it, especially how in terms of just what they do. My targeted population, my potential targeted population will be in the South Central region of the United States. So I won't be looking to go into Nigeria. I will be targeting here in the United States for experienced business owners who market to BOP consumers in Nigeria and maintain a profit. Now, the implications for positive social change. This is where you might see me start to really get excited because it's kind of a twofold here. We can see in terms of positive social change, business leaders now themselves can increase and sustain profits for their business organizations. They can help develop best practices for market-based approaches in international business, and not just blatantly in international business, but in international business focusing on a collective group of people that we call the BOP, and also can address the unmet needs of the BOP consumers, and such as in the case of Nigeria. Now, also, we can look at the implications in terms of positive social change in terms of the population. We can see that once we can meet unmet needs that are addressed, and then there becomes a potential for a nation such as Nigeria, to increase its welfare, for increasing productivity, generation of income for the people, raising the income for the people, and also enabling the BOP households to find their own routes out of poverty. Slide 6, nature of the study. I chose a qualitative methodology for this study, and particularly qualitative methodologies seem to be more in line with the research and development of a cross-cultural, what I call cross-cultural experience. Specifically, I chose the multiple case holistic design for this study. Now, I chose a multiple case study over single case because I wanted to bring about a stronger effect on the research and have a more powerful outcome based on my use of multiple cases. And more importantly, I chose the holistic case. Now, I chose the holistic in comparison to the embedded. And the reason why this is a holistic multiple case study is because primarily I will be collecting qualitative data as opposed to quantitative data. I will only be collecting qualitative data. Where we may see in an embedded case study, there is the opt for to collect some additional quantitative data. Here, I will only be collecting qualitative data. Slide 7, research question. The research question is, how do some business leaders market to BOP consumers in Nigeria and maintain a profit? How? How do they market to these BOP consumers and at the same time maintain, over a period of time, maintain a profit? Slide 8, conceptual framework. This area is my conceptual framework, and what I had chosen to use as a way to see this study through, or to give a good view of how I'm going to see the study through, carry it through, is by using a proposed theory based on a BOP marketing concept, based on a concept that was generated by Palahad and Hart back in 1999 in one of their working papers. They came up with the BOP concept, and it was basically targeting multinational corporations at that time. And what Palahad and Hart was saying was, you know what, we can, as business leaders, we can do business all over the world, and we can tap into the largest markets of the world and at the same time gain profits and even look at poverty alleviation. So this is how that BOP concept came about. Now, Majumdar later encompassed this BOP concept and basically kind of brought it into being a BOP marketing theory. So now we have a BOP marketing theory that Majumdar has basically stemmed on the concept of Prahalad and Hart. Now, the whole BOP marketing theory is basically to explain, if people want to know, they need to know, to explain the profitability of business leaders marketing to consumers at the base of the world economic pyramid or the bottom of the world economic pyramid. Now, could I have chosen maybe some other theories? And did I look at other theories? Yes, I did. I did consider the integrative justice model. I did in some of my analysis and synthesis in the literature, I did do some comparing and contrasting of various models that were supporting BOP and those that were opposing BOP. But I looked at the integrative justice model, the IJM model as a theory, and it basically is a supporting model of BOP, and that theory basically looks at, okay, fairness. We want to be fair and just in conducting business because some people view the population at the bottom of the pyramid as poor people, and is this poverty alleviation? We want to make sure that we're not exploiting these people, even though we're gaining a profit. So the theory basically was in terms of fairness with the BOP. It did address the BOP in terms of fairness. But I just felt that the BOP marketing theory, since it came from the originators of the whole concept, would just be a better lens into helping guide me through this research. I did also kind of think about corporate social responsibility, CSR, but it was like a no-no. The corporate social responsibility researchers or the theorists and the theory is actually an opposing theory because it's like, all we can do with this population is just, be socially responsible with them and filter corporate social responsibility if we're in there working with these people. Nonprofit organizations that help ease this population. And so that was kind of their viewpoint. So that one just didn't work at all because it was just more negative, more opposing. So I really felt that the BOP marketing theory was best for the BOP marketing concept and what I'm proposing moving forward. Now, along with my conceptual framework, one thing that is important that I have addressed is the capital base of the population there, which is what we call the purchasing power parity, or PPP. It's basically an economic term or a term you may see at the World Bank, where we basically converting the usage of the money in different countries and areas, converting them into dollars. So, into U.S. dollars. So now, what we're looking at is at the bottom of the pyramid population, they have a purchasing power parity of about $1,500 a year. And if you want to kind of compare that to the United States, a more developed nation, our purchasing power parity is maybe $35,000 a year. So you think of $1,500 a year. These people make about $1,500 a year, and that's about $2 a day. And so now we're saying, okay, my dominant logic here is just not getting it. How are we going to make a profit here? How are we going to move in with this population and make a profit? What are you talking about? Well, that's the dominant logic, and Prahalad addresses the dominant logic that some business leaders, they make assumptions and implications that this income is low. Like, we can't do this. This is too low. But through the research and the learning of the concept and through Prahalad presenting with us ways to conduct the research, we are now seeing that, and also through success stories, we're now seeing that this can be done. This is a profit. And not just only can be done, it is being done. And we have a lot of companies and organizations that are successful using this model. So now we decided that, okay, we can do this. There are some research instructions that are helping us do this. Paula Hott uses a term that I like. It's called democratizing commerce, which means now we got all inclusive. We're including everybody in the world. We're not just saying, oh, those are the poor people over there. We can't do nothing with them, but just be socially responsible. No, we can, as business leaders, we can do business and work together with this group of this population and ensure dignity and fairness to all the consumers all over the world. So let's move to slide 9, which is a continuation, again, of the conceptual framework. And what I want to focus on now that we have some basic research instructions that we can use, we now want to look at maybe some of the propositions and tenets that filter the BOP concept or the BOP marketing theory. And one thing that is very makes things kind of stand out is that, of course, there is a potential for profit at the BOP. Yes, there is a potential for profit at the BOP. Business leaders can move into these countries, organizations, just like Nigeria, and gain a profit, make a profit, maintain a profit. There is ready access to the BOP markets. When we talk about ready access, well, like I just was saying earlier in the background, that the international barriers are broken down through technology. We have technology, we have social media. Here we are today together on the conference call, and I'm giving a presentation, about business. So now we can see this is as an example itself as barriers breaking down through technology. Things like voice over internet protocol, instant messaging, voice capability, video conferencing, and the like. So that's what we mean by when we say they're ready access. Also, the BOP markets, the population in the BOP markets, they are brand conscious. What do we mean by brand conscious? They have access to media, to TV, and seeing things that's going on, commercials and advertisements. They see some of the big name brands that are out there, and they want to be able to be involved in that as well, in the purchasing of those goods as well, purchasing and selling of those goods as well. The BOP markets are critical factors in worldwide wireless growth. Not wireless growth just in terms of mobile telephony or mobile telephones, but, we got the iPad, the tablet, like I said, video conferencing, the internet, VoIP, voice over internet protocol, various wireless ways that we can do business with this population. And last, the BOP consumers, they're ready. They accept advanced technology ready. They know it's out there. They're ready. They've been in training. They're on the internet learning, just like the rest of us, and ready to use a lot of this technology to move forward in business and doing business and using e-commerce and purchasing goods over the internet. So these are some of the tenets and some of the propositions that go along with BOP, the BOP marketing concept or BOP marketing theory, and which is basically why I chose this particular theory. And therefore, the BOP market theory is a useful conceptual framework to help me demonstrate how some business leaders market to BOP consumers in Nigeria and maintain a profit. Next slide, slide 10. Okay. Assumptions, limitations, and delimitations. Now, I made a few assumptions, particularly that business leaders will benefit from the findings of this research and benefit relatively to the development of international market-based approaches to consumers. And also that the findings of this research may also contribute to positive social change. Now, some potential limitations may be my personal experience as a marketing business leader to BOP consumers in Nigeria, and or my personal and business relationships with the potential interviewees. Now, in a cross-cultural context, this may be something positive. However, I still felt the need and want to list this as a potential limitation. Furthermore, in terms of the boundaries of the study, my choice of the actual problem, what I chose to be the actual problem, and also the fact of the location of the potential interviewees and the number of the potential interviewees, or the number or the potential cases for the case study. Okay, let's move to slide 11, significance of the study. And I just want to do a quick voice check to make sure we're all still here.
Yes, I'm here.
Dr.
I'm here.
McMahon?
Enjoying your
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I got some phone calls. I want to make sure I didn't lose anybody and get too excited. Okay, because this is my most exciting part here. Ma'am?
I just had you on mute because I had some cats running around making some noise here.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. I'm excited. I'm making sure I didn't bump something and knock you guys off. So I was just doing a check
here.
Okay. All right. The significance of the study. Okay, this is where I really get excited, and you got to excuse me, okay? Okay, I'm going to take a deep breath because this is my excitement. And I'm going to tell you why I'm really excited. I'm really excited because Walden University is really into positive social change. And this was my opportunity to demonstrate actual positive social change and business leaders conducting positive social change, but at the same time doing what business leaders do. Business leaders make money. They gain profits simultaneously. So this was a big thing for me here. And actually, and giving credit to Walden, I learned about BOP in my leadership class. And there was an article about servant leadership. And, I know a lot of the students were like, what is this BOP? What is this BOP? And I was like, oh, this will be great, to add to my study. So I do give Walden, a lot of thanks for their research and their articles that we had access to help filter and bring about our studies. So in this case, when I'm looking at the significance of the study, it's like a win-win. I mean, everybody wins. Like, yay! The significance of this study is that it is a win-win solution for business and society overall. Business leaders can increase their profits and at the same time, I could just squeeze, and at the same time, offer job and small business opportunities to some of the world's poorest people, enabling these people to work and lift themselves out of poverty. I'm not talking just about social welfare programs, nonprofit organizations helping them. These people get to maintain a sense of dignity. They get to get into the democratizing of commerce and feel a part of the rest of the world and join in and helping making our world be a better place. They get to lift themselves. And how more dignified and better feeling can you feel when you lift yourself up by your own bootstraps out of poverty? That's a good feeling. Okay, I'm moving on to slide 12, the literature review. Okay, I'm going to kind of take my time here on the literature review because there's a lot of literature, yes, in regards to the bottom of the pyramid BOP literature. And a lot of the researchers did indicate in the literature that some things may be unorganized because it is rather a new concept in business and I'll say that was back in 2012 when one of the researchers stated that. And it's a progressing, model as we go forward. But, as I was going through the research, basically filtering on my themes from my question, my themes being the BOP, Nigeria, and maintaining profits, those three major themes. I'm going through looking at Nigeria and Nigeria maintaining the profit and the BOP. But the BOP itself, the bottom of the pyramid concept, it encompasses a large body of knowledge to where I wouldn't do that theme justice in my inquiry if I didn't encompass the full body of knowledge. Now, at the same time, We have the World Resource Institute, the International Finance Corporation, and the World Bank. They have made a collaborative effort. They have kind of grouped together and to kind of give us information about the BOP. They have a large database website. There was a book, The Next 4 Billion, that really is a great handbook, written handbook that helps us filter research at the BOP. Also, they encompass a lot of information from the World Bank, so we're not just, in the databases on the World Bank, just kind of stumbling through. They kind of brought everything together under one umbrella. And this was the World Resource Institute, the IFC, the International Finance Corporation, and the World Bank. And they gave us also some research instructions. And what they were saying is to the researchers is, hey, if you're going to do research and analyze this bottom of the pyramid population, you're going to have to look at the entire BOP. And look at the entire BOP in order to address issues concerning the BOP. And you're like, well, what do you mean the entire BOP? The entire BOP concerning the BOP? What does that mean? This BOP language here. Well, what we're saying is you're going to have to look at the entire body of knowledge that is given to the population of the bottom of the pyramid, the entire body of information that is given. So when I was going through the research and reviewing the literature, I said, okay, I'm going to kind of help to try to get things organized here so that I can help to get people to understand the importance of this population. So I came up with what's called the common BOP themes and the supplementary BOP themes. And you're like, okay, you got common and supplementary. Well, when I say common, it was kind of like the primary information that you see in the literature research, in the literature review. You're going through the literature and you're saying, okay, basically they're talking about the emerging economies, the developing markets, okay, and the different geographical locations. And I'm like, okay, well, my research question is about marketing to BOP consumers in Nigeria. Why can't I just focus on just the marketing and the regions and compare that? Well, because it's so much more knowledge that helps us to not only market to these developing countries or emerging economies, but also it helps us to create markets. Prahlad, he talked about creating a market. It's almost like that movie, said that baseball movie, if you build it, they'll come. Field of Dreams, you build it, they'll come. We build it and they will come. So you also have the opportunity to create markets. So it was good to encompass the whole information. I understood what they were saying when we had to say the entire. I understood as I was reading through, okay, yeah, we do need to know more than just the different segments, or more than just going through and learning about the population or the PPP, the purchasing power parity, or the size of it. So when I did the common BOP themes, I broke them down into the emerging economies and the developing markets because they were kind of used synonymously. And when I say BOP marketing centered on, which means that the researchers focused on certain aspects in these geographical locations. So when I say combined geographical locations and regions, Chikweche, which is one of the researchers, he did a study called undertaking qualitative research at the BOP, the bottom of the pyramid. His focus was basically on Zimbabwe. However, he gave us a lot of research instructions himself, and what he and a lot of researchers and the World Resource Institute, the International Finance Corporation, the World Bank had all collaborated and said, okay, we're going to focus on about 4 primary regions, being Asia, Eastern Europe, Latin America and the Caribbean together, and Africa. Those will be the dominant regions. So when I say geographical locations and regions, those 4 primary are the regions. Now, when I say geographical locations, then I'm talking about maybe Nigeria, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Togo, Ghana, different parts of Asia, different parts of Eastern Europe. So that's why there was a breakdown. And what the researchers did in their research, which is important, is they combine their research based on geographical locations and regions. Some of them centered on multiple regions, which means they looked at Africa, Asia, and Eastern Europe simultaneously. And why did they do that? From what I can gather is they may have seen similarities in these BOP markets and why they grouped those together. So what we may see is researchers deciding to look at some regions together, some geographical locations together, some regions. Like I said, they may look at Asia, Africa, Eastern Europe and see similarities, or they may look at Zimbabwe, Ghana, and South Africa and focus on maybe some things that are different amongst the three. So that's what I was seeing in the literature review, and that's why I moved from, when I organized it, I moved from looking at combined geographical locations and regions, multiple regions, the centering on the geographical location, those researchers that just centered on various geographical locations, those researchers who centered on BOP market segments. Now, when we say BOP market segments, we are actually talking about the individual, the single individual market segment, basically like Nigeria itself and everything that encompassed that happened in Nigeria, or all the research that was performed in South Africa. Now, when I say market sectors, you will see that I divided it by market sectors. Now, according to the World Resource Institute, again, the International Finance Corporation and the World Bank, they collaborated together, and you will start seeing sectors is kind of like synonymous for business industries. It's a term that we use as synonymous for industries. Industries like ICT, information communication technology. ICT, which being subdivided in maybe to mobile telephones, telecommunications, banking, where we see micro financing. They also industries concerning water, transportation, and food. And this is so whatever industry your company is in, the research actually has information to help you move forward in your industry. And that's what I meant by market sectors. Sectors are basically the industries, and these segments are basically where research was conducted in one single primary location. Now, finally, when I came in with the supplementary BOP themes, I didn't want to leave out things that were important as a whole in looking at the BOP population. Things like business leadership and BOP marketing. You know, like I said, I first learned about this in one of my Walden courses, my leadership course, about servant leadership. That, you know, that article basically was stating that maybe a servant leader, you know, would be good at, you know, filtering and working with the bottom of the pyramid population. There was also various business models. Researchers also looked at various different business models, business strategies as well. Were presented from different facets. Also, multinational corporations and the BOP. What we had learned in the research is that beginning when Paula Hart started this, it was really catered to the multinational corporations. It was like these were the people who could really go in and market to these people because they had the ability and the resources. But now what we're learning in the research is, hey, that's not always safe for the big companies. I mean, I've seen in the research the surrounding of talking about the small to medium enterprises, the micro, small, medium enterprises, or what we call in the U.S. the small businesses, or also micro. In other countries, they use the term micro enterprises, but we may call them moms and pop. Moms and pop businesses can even get in on this. We have a lot of research to help the mom and pop businesses to move into these organizations, and yes, and to help develop these economies as well in business and to maintain a profit. Also, profits and poverty alleviation. There's a lot of research where the researchers are kind of collaborating and arguing about whether we should do this and get profits. Is this alleviating poverty, or whether it's a good thing or bad thing? There's a lot of talk in that, and foreign corruption and business ethics. We always know, especially we've seen some big corporations where business ethics is very concerned with CEOs, foreign corruption. The media may have given Nigeria maybe a tainted perspective of being a country that may be corrupted in some of their practices, and therefore some business leaders may say, oh, I don't want to do that. But, there's a lot of guidelines to help with that also. There are also successful corporations in BOP marketing that are addressed. Tons of companies that are listed, Pralahat listed, several companies that were actually successful and still successful to this day. Okay, you still with me? I heard a beep. Did I lose anyone?
I heard a beep as well. Did someone just join us?
Oh, hi, yes, it's Neil Mather. How are you doing, Chantel? Sorry to interrupt.
Hi, no, glad to have you here.
Well, thank you. I just wanted to confirm, though, I did get the invite on the call, but I'm actually not supposed to be in the call. You're supposed to just do this with your two committee members. So I wanted to make sure you were proceeding and you weren't waiting on me or anything like that. So wanted to just make sure that's all clear and okay with everyone. So I just wanted to clarify that. And so I don't want to interrupt. I want to let you continue. And when everything is all said and done, the next steps for the URR will come up afterwards.
All right. Nice meeting you. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you.
Sorry about it. Go right ahead.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Chantel.
Okay. See here with our barriers broken down here in technology, we're just making sure we're still here. Got to get used to all of this great technology here. Okay. Let's move forward to slide number 13. The role of the researcher. Slide 13, role of the researcher. Of course, I am the primary researcher in this proposed qualitative case study, and I'm desiring to explore how some business leaders market to BOP consumers in Nigeria and maintain a profit. I am a business leader who has marketed to BOP consumers in Nigeria and maintain a profit. This is why this is very important, because in undertaking research in global business, researchers may encounter cross-cultural challenges. Now, these are challenges. When I talk about these challenges, Chikwueze and Fletcher, back in 2012, like I said, in their research, they had noticed that there may be potential challenges in undertaking research with the BOP, because a lot of it is dealing with cross-cultures. We're dealing with not just other populations, but we're dealing with other cultures. And we have our culture here in the developed nations and in the United States, and Nigeria has their culture. So this was very important, because some of the cross-cultural challenges that may include information gathering and data collection challenges, and some of these challenges may be obtaining reliable data, selecting the respondents, gaining access and securing trust, looking at the personal characteristics and credibility of the researcher. Initially performing the interviews and obtaining adequate responses. And basically what I had gathered from the challenges is that in cross-cultural people, some people want to know who they're working with. And if they know me, then they may be potentially more open to giving us information and research. And if they've worked with me before or have heard about me or I was a reference, it may give them the opportunity to open up, and I can easily collect the qualitative data and gain more information on how they actually market to the BOP consumers in Nigeria and maintain a profit. Now, in order to, like I said, overcome these potential cross-cultural challenges, I may have a personal and business relationship with the participants. However, I will not be an employee of the participants, and the participants will not be my employees. Everything will remain ethical. Slide 14, participants and sample size. I chose a purposeful sampling to be utilized, and specifically because of the cross-cultural challenges. I will choose participants that either temporarily or permanently reside in the same location where I reside. What do you mean just about temporarily or permanently? Well, in international business, even myself included, that some people live in multiple places when they may have homes in Nigeria and homes in the United States and go back and forth, temporary or permanent. But the most important facet is that my accessibility to them, which I will be talking to those who are in the United States. However, they're in the United States, but they market to the actual bottom of the pyramid consumers in Nigeria, and they actually will be participants that maintain a profit. Like I said, they will be business leaders that I have met in Nigeria. I will have met them either in Nigeria or here in the United States. It could be even references, potentially. I've kind of set aside some ways to make sure that I can have a range of people to potentially access for the interviews. The people may particularly be in the Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas Metroplex. That's where I reside. It's a large area. I use Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex because it'll encompass all the other smaller cities around, and these will potentially be people that I've gained familiarity and knowledge of their marketing to Nigerian consumers and maintaining a profit. Again, the relationship that I may have with the participants may be personal, it may be business in nature. Therefore, I may have a previously working relationship with the participants. And once again, this will also help me in overcoming the cross-cultural challenges, which are really important in getting a substantial amount of data. Slide 15, research method and design. Again, I may be sounding repetition because we all know this. I sound repetitive, because you know that I chose a qualitative research inquiry for this study. Again, the purpose of the study is to observe how and interpret how business leaders market to BOP consumers in Nigeria and maintain a profit. I wanted to focus on the how. Because I felt that I can get more in depth into the research and gain more information, and especially also if I ask the question how, as opposed to, well, what did you do or what? I felt limited using what. It's like, well, they can tell me what, but what if what doesn't apply to me? What if I can't do what you do with the what? So I need to know how did you do it, because like Paula Hart said, we may have to create markets in these industries. So we want to know how can we do this? I thought it gives me a more sense of power knowing how than to just what. Because if the interviewee just gave me what, I might not can use the what. But if I know how, I might can go a little bit further. So my using the qualitative method will also afford me to present as little disruption of a natural setting as possible. Here we go, talking about those cross-cultural challenges. Once again, based on cross-cultural context, the participants will hopefully feel comfortable inviting me to wherever we potentially decide to set up for the interviews, whether it's home businesses, home offices, or the business for the like or examples. I definitely want to make sure that I overcome the cross-cultural challenges and give due respect the difference based on the differences in our cultures as well. I chose the multiple case study design for this study. A case study design should be considered when the focus of the study is to answer how and why. So case study was perfect because it's the answer to how, and I want to know how. I want to help us all know how we can do this. And so the focus of this study is to explore, again, how the business leaders market to BOP consumers in Nigeria and maintain a profit. And potentially, luckily because it's qualitative, I can get a range of information. Potentially, might get to know why. Potentially also why. Okay, slide 16. Ethical research. I will perform the study only after receiving approval from the IRB at Walden University with an assigned approval number. There will be no data collection prior to that. I will adhere to the utmost ethical form of research to represent the research and to represent Walden in research. Also, based on our culture and tradition, the Belmont report has given additional information and relevant to the ethics of research. These three basic principles are the principles of respect for the persons, beneficence, and justice. And I will also follow these three principles in performing the study. Also, I will also consider these three in also the cross-cultural context in respect, beneficence, and judgment. Sometimes and I might need a business leader that I might need a courtesy and bow to as I greet them, which may be different from our culture, from a handshake. So those are the things that I want to make sure I will utmost protect the privacy of everyone, password protect all external hard drives and data over the period of 5 years, and definitely guarantee the confidential of both the participants, but basically in particular, making sure that I have the participants' consent and their consent form, and that they also have a way to withdraw without any penalty. And letting know that there will be no compensation or no incentives involved. Okay, slide 17, data collection. Okay, I will follow what's called a case study protocol. A case study protocol is vital for a case study design, and this will aid me in keeping the focus on my topic and assist me enhancing reliability. A case study protocol basically consists of an overview of the case study, data collection procedures, the data collection questions, and a guide for the case study report, in generating and getting the report together. I will also be using semi-structured and in-depth face-to-face interviews, open-ended questioning, member checking to ensure data saturation. And I want to kind of elaborate on member checking in terms of data saturation, because we are talking about case study here. It's a qualitative case study design. Well, I want to ensure data saturation, and I'm going to ensure data saturation through member checking, which will encompass kind of what I call a rally robin, going back and forth to verify that all the information is correct until we have no repeated themes, until I have saturated all the data, gained all the information possible, with constantly checking with the member, going back and forth, because what I've learned in case study analysis is sometimes during the initial interview, people just kind of get surface information. Sometimes we're nervous. I'm nervous too. And we just get surface information. And so we want to go back and kind of check and see if is this information correct? Would you like to add any more information? When we take any information, would you like to add any more information? And we just keep on going. I like to call it rally robin, kind of going back and forth until making sure we have all of the information in depth interview, all information regarding that we can possibly get regarding the research. Also, I will obtain unpublished internal business documents as a secondary form of data, and this is also to help me secure, with also reliability, to secure and feed into the methodological triangulation. Slide 18, data analysis. Okay, one of the researchers, like we have Raleigh here, he suggested kind of some general steps to follow in data analysis: organize the data, become acquainted with the data, classify, code, and interpret the data, and finally present and write up the data. Well, what I will do is I will use these following 6 steps that I'm going to use to analyze the data. I plan to familiarize myself with the data, generating initial codes using the in vivo software, searching for themes, reviewing the themes, defining and naming the themes, and once again, as we've kind of iterated with the case study analysis protocol, which is most important, producing the final report. So these are the 6 steps that I will basically follow with the data analysis. Slide 19, reliability and validity. Okay, reliability and validity is very, very, very important. We want to make sure we're reliable and give valid information. Reliability and validity ensures the integrity of the data collected. The criteria for qualitative research is dependability, creditability, confirmability, and transferability. Now, because these criteria are not measurable and measurable in maybe in terms of the quantitative sense, but not measurable, yet we still need to establish using qualitative methods. What I will do is I will use such methods as, of course, transcript review, member checking, ensure data saturation, and methodological triangulation. And so these are some of the steps that I will take to secure the reliability and the validity of my proposed study. And at this time, we'd like to move to the final slide, which is slide 20. And at this time, I'm concluding my oral defense. This is the end of my first oral defense. I want to once again thank you, Dr. Muhammad. Thank you, Dr. McMahon. I want to thank Dr. Mather, and also want to thank our program director, Dr. Turner. And like I said, I just thank the whole University of Walden for this opportunity. And so now I would like to regress here and open the floor and invite you for questions.
Wow, Chantel, you need a drink of water right now, I'm sure.
I was sipping. Every time I moved forward, I took a sip.
I didn't hear you take a breath at hardly any time until you paused a second to turn the pages. So, congratulations to you for having talked for a little while there. Dr. McMahon,
I was excited.
Dr. McMahon, do you have questions for Chantel?
Yeah, I just have one, but before I ask that, Chantel, I really enjoyed your presentation and appreciate your enthusiasm, and I like the fact that you didn't read your presentation. So many students do, and it's kind of boring, but yours was great. I like your professional style and smooth delivery, and the time went by real quickly.
Thank you.
My question is, what do you think will be your greatest challenge with your study?
That's a good question, because I have concerning different challenges. I think my greatest challenge would basically be, like Chikwueze has addressed, the cross-cultural challenges. I want to make sure that my potential interviewees feel secure and confident enough to make sure that they give me or give us as researchers as much information as possible, considering that I've seen in the research through, professional researchers that those cross-cultural challenges may be a problem. So that's one thing. That's kind of why I kind of was constantly saying cross-cultural challenges. So it kind of makes you think, yeah, that might be something that I'm really focusing on. That might be a big challenge that I do want to overcome.
Okay. You don't anticipate any difficulty getting the 3 business owners to participate in your study? Do you have more than 3 that you could contact if you needed to?
Yes, ma'am, definitely. I did keep that make that into consideration, especially in my local area, that I was very well aware of several participants, because I wanted to also think of maybe someone's out of the country, not available, or don't want to participate. I wanted to make sure that I had it. And actually, I had potentially about 10 people that I felt that I could reach out to, and also ask them for references if that becomes a problem as well.
Yeah, you shouldn't have a problem. And I was kind of worried about the timing too. You know, some, like you said, some might be out of the country or something when you're ready to.
Right.
Hey, that's the questions I have right now.
Thank you.
Chantel, outstanding job. I wanted to just talk a little bit about possible how you plan to share with us and with the IRB your relationship with your participants. One of the things that the IRB becomes very concerned about is possible bias in the relationship with the participants and things like that. And I know that you've considered those things in your research. So I don't have a particular question, but just to say whatever you've written in your research, you may want to consider that when you move to an IRB phase of your research. I don't have any other questions.
Yes, I do would like to answer that question because that's an excellent question, Dr. Muhammad. I appreciate both of your questions and yours too, Dr. Muhammad, because it gives me the opportunity to really focus in on the research and the qualitative research undertaking at the BOP. And like I said, there's the more prominent the frequency of the literature was basically a lot of the BOP by Chikwete and Fletcher. And Chikwete spent a lot of time, and I really carefully read through his research because, like I was telling Dr. McMahon, the cross-cultural is very important. And one aspect that I will use is I will stick to that citation and that information, the points that are very important in doing cross-cultural research, and that's what they call it, cross-cultural research, and the potential of having cross-cultural challenge. And one of the things is that some people will not open up to you if they don't know you or not have heard of you or not have worked with you. And if I may just give kind of a simple example, just based on some of the students I know in Walden here and abroad, maybe kind of a simple example is there may be a particular student that I know or someone I know here from Nigeria, and I may know somebody else as actually in Nigeria, and I introduce them, and I say, oh, this is my brother or sister here, this is somebody here, and that person will say, oh, okay, well, if you know Chantel, then I know she's got to be good, or you know so-and-so, then I know that I can trust them, and I can trust them with my information, because this is information in regards to their business. I've read where some people have apprehensions in cross-culturally. People are not as open as we are here in the United States. Now, that's not everybody. That's just some. Some have their cultural or their preferences in opening up and sharing information. It may be something that's private to them. So the relationship that I have is important for the IRB. I will actually show that information, cite that information from Chikwete about the challenges and the importance that he has demonstrated in knowing. Because in his research, when they did research in Zimbabwe, it was very, very lengthy because they had to go into Zimbabwe, the researchers. They actually moved into the homes with these people and went to work with them and looked at their businesses and actually how they conducted business because they had to gain familiarity with each other and trust. So they actually did, in this particular research, they lived in the home with the people, and that way they were actually really able to see and gather more data, and the people were more comfortable with them. Now, that's just the example that they gave. That won't be in my case, but because I want to demonstrate how I'm going to overcome the challenges, and overcoming the challenges runs into me having some potential relationship with the potential interviewees.
Excellent. That's what I I wanted to hear that you had a factual base for that relationship. Excellent. Okay, those are all the questions that I have. Dr. McMahon, you have any other questions?
No, I don't, but I'd like to just tell Chantel how much I've enjoyed working with her so far, and I'd like to compliment you, Chantel, on reaching the stage of your study. The proposal is such a long, tenuous process, and you've been diligent, motivated, and responsive to all my requests and suggestions. So I just want to thank you again, and nice work on the presentation.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you both.
And I wanted to just echo that, Chantel, and say, as your chair, you've worked very diligently. You've reached a milestone. I feel that your presentation was energized. I feel like you know your material, and I just congratulate you, and I'm so proud of you. So now you have to leave the call, and we have to talk about you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, and thank you for all your contributions. I could not have gotten this far without either one of you and your professionalism. Once again, I appreciate you, and have a good day.
You too.
Goodbye.
Bye. Okay, Dr. McMahon, what do we think?
Oh, I think this is an easy one. I don't even think we had to dismiss her because...
I do too. I try to, follow what we say we're going to do. So I'm going to post her presentation out there in my DR, and I will call her back and congratulate her. And then my DR will show that I gave her a Met status, and then she'll the official word tomorrow. And then I'll advise her to move on to the IRB process.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah, pleasure working with you. I know we will work on more research proposals together. Outstanding work.
Been a pleasure.
Okay. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.